With football nearly upon us, it's fantasy football season. Quarterback tiers, according to our Jamie Eisenberg. And if you're talking about guys that you're going to take in the third and fourth round of your drafts, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. That's it. That's the list. In terms of Jackson, the Ravens are co-favorites, by the way, to win the Super Bowl. Two-time league MVP didn't practice today after leaving practice early on Wednesday. He reportedly had his foot stepped on, and a team taking no chances at losing its franchise quarterback. Here's John Harbaugh.
He got his foot stepped on, like we said yesterday. I think Chad had mentioned that. They did a quick x-ray, and there's no damage or anything like that. I'm sure it's a little sore today, so we just kept him in, but he's fine. He's going to be good.
How much of a relief was that for you after hearing that news?
It was a big relief, yeah. I told the guys, I said, prayers do get answered, because I was praying. And God came through. So, but he's good.
Time now for an AFC North preview presented by Verizon. And we welcome in Bryant McFadden for a game that we're going to be calling B blank. So I give out the topic, and B-Mac will fill in the blank. So let's start with Lamar Jackson, which, by the way, looks like a sigh of relief for him with that foot being stepped on there. Lamar Jackson, B-Mac, has to be blank to win a Super Bowl.
Action Jackson. That's who he has to be to win a Super Bowl. Now, we've seen Action Jackson surface throughout Lamar Jackson's outstanding career, more primarily in the regular season. But we need to see Action Jackson surface in postseason play as well. And you don't necessarily need the heroic, entertaining-like plays, Tommy. It's about making routine plays happen routinely. That has been the issue for the Baltimore Ravens in the last postseason appearance. Go back 2 years ago, a simple drag route to Zay Flowers, routine play, tried to get the football over the goal line. L'Jarius Sneed came out, punched the football, fumble. Game goes into the Kansas City Chiefs' direction. Most recently, a year ago, a routine throwing catch from Lamar to Mark Andrews, something that we've seen 1,000 times. Routine throwing catch. Unfortunately, they didn't make that play happen routinely. That's the issue. But to get to that point, again, you need to see Lamar become Action Jackson.
It was crazy to see those 2023 and 24 splits, 4,000 passing yards, 900 rushing yards. Could have won another MVP, but of course that went to Josh Allen. And it's interesting because of those playoff failures, he doesn't get put up maybe in the perch that, say, a Joe Burrow does, B-Mac, because Joe Burrow beat Mahomes, got to a Super Bowl. If we go with the Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrow has to be blank to return to the playoffs.
Elite. He has to be elite for them to return to the playoffs. And here's why. Their defense, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. We don't know. We don't know if their defense can be stout. We don't know if their defense will be better than what we did not see a year ago. Not to mention their best defensive player is still waiting on a contract extension in Trey Hendrickson. So you know what happens? That puts more pressure on who? The offense led by Joe Burrow. That's why I believe he has to be elite for them to get to the playoffs. Heck, he had to do that a year ago just for them to kind of surface around that playoff conversation because of how bad their defensive unit was. We've seen changing of the guard in terms of the defensive unit, some more added personnel. So they will have a different defensive scheme. So hopefully that could help. But I still believe for them to get to the playoffs, Tommy, Joe Cool Burrow, he has to be elite.
He has to be elite, and they got to get off to better starts. That's been a problem with Zach Taylor and this Bengals team for different reasons over the last handful of years. All right, let's get to Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old, gets to this division as a debut guy for him. For Aaron Rodgers, four-time league MVP, he has to be blank to return to that MVP form.
10 years younger. The fountain of youth has to display itself somehow into Aaron Rodgers' body to be an MVP caliber player. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers at 41 can't be serviceable, but you're talking about the best quarterback in the National Football League, surpassing guys like a Lamar Jackson, surpassing guys like a Josh Allen or a Pat Mahomes. Because of the age, that's an issue. That would be an issue. And the thing I love about being 10 years younger, that is Aaron Rodgers before he sustained that Achilles injury that ended his season 2 years ago. All of that has played a major part, not to mention Father Time, in terms of who Aaron Rodgers is today. Now, can he still be a playoff caliber quarterback without being 10 years younger? No question. But this statement is all about being an MVP caliber quarterback. At 41, I don't see that happening. That's why I say for that to happen, he needs to be 10 years younger.
Can't turn back the clock. They're trying to save him by not playing him in the preseason there, and then it'll be interesting to see how that Week 1 game against the Jets at MetLife will start for your Steelers. And then we don't have one but two 40-year-old quarterbacks in this division, B-Mac, because Joe Flacco is in line to be the Week 1 starter. What does Flacco, he has to be blank to keep the Browns afloat?
He has to be the GOAT to keep the Browns afloat. And you know who the GOAT is? It's Tom Brady. Like it or not, Tom Brady is the GOAT, especially at the quarterback position. And one thing we know about the GOAT, when he was in his prime GOAT-like performances, he made everyone around him better. They won ball games. That would have to happen for Joe Flacco to keep the Browns afloat. And you know what afloat means? Staying above water, above 500 in terms of wins. That has to happen. And I think when you look at their schedule, they would need a GOAT-like performance from Joe Flacco. Just look at the first 6 games, Tommy. Nowhere in the first 6 games would they be considered the favorites. Cincy, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. That's the first 6 ball games. You would need a GOAT-like performance. Now, the one luxury the Cleveland Browns have at their disposal, they've always found a way to keep things competitive in the division, the AFC North. That's the one bright spot. But when you look at the teams that they will see, especially in the first month of the season, divisional games, those teams all have playoff aspirations, and those teams are more talented than the Cleveland Browns as we see it today. But for sake of argument, for them to stay afloat, he got to turn into the GOAT.
Yeah, if he can even channel some of his 2023 form when he won Comeback Player of the Year. Heck, he could do it 2 years. It'd be interesting to see if he would be able to do that if he had GOAT status once again, to your point there. So when we talk about this division, B-Mac, as you know well, it is one of the elite divisions in football, routinely getting 2, if not 3 teams each year. If I were to ask you this year, how many teams and which teams are going to get to the playoffs?
I see 2 teams getting into the playoffs from the AFC North, starting with the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why. And the reason why I'm going, I don't have to throw out any, reasons why Baltimore, because we all know, right? We got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, a well-assembled team again. Let's go ahead and just talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I think the consensus would either say Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. The reason why I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers is because they have a better defense, in my opinion. Now, offense clearly goes to Cincinnati. Coaching goes to Pittsburgh. Special teams goes to Pittsburgh. When you look at comparing and contrasting, those are key components in terms of playoff caliber football. So no question, you would never debate the Pittsburgh Steelers having a better offense than the Cincinnati Bengals. No, that goes to Cincinnati. They got a better quarterback. They got better skill positional players. Okay, but in terms of defense, give me everything defense related to Pittsburgh, right? In special teams, when you look at Chris Boswell and who he's been in his professional career, especially being an All-Pro a year ago, I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we look at the head coaching debate, there's none. So that's why I factor Pittsburgh getting the nod over the Cincinnati Bengals. If the AFC North were to get 2 teams into the division, I take it as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay,
that's a preview of the AFC North presented by Verizon with our 2-time Super Bowl champ, Bryant McFadden. If you haven't caught it, folks, we got some big news recently. A weekly 2-hour show will stream live on Paramount Plus called NFL Today Plus. It'll also be on CBS Sports HQ, the NFL on CBS YouTube channel. Debuts Week 1 of the NFL season Sunday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Eastern.